welcome to the deep dive. Today we're digging into something interesting. Lacquer sap. Can it actually help revitalize men over 50, boost circulation?
It's a question we got from a listener, the learner. And yeah, declining vitality, circulation issues, it's a common concern as we age.
Right, so we've got this blog post from Health Pursuit. It seems to cover the bases, benefits, risks, especially allergies, how to use it safely, even alternatives.
Exactly. So our sort of mission here is to unpack that blog post and figure out, based on that information, is Lacquer Sap a realistic option for circulation, for vitality, specifically for that over 50 group?
Okay, let's jump in. So the potential upside first. Can it boost circulation and vitality? What does the blog say?
Well, it starts with the traditional angle. Apparently, Lacquer Sap has a long history in East Asian medicine. It's been used precisely for supporting circulation and, well, energy levels.
How does it supposedly work?
The blog highlights these anti-inflammatory compounds and flavonoids in the sap. Now, for men over 50, chronic low-grade inflammation can often be a factor in circulation problems getting worse with age. Ah, okay, so these compounds might help the blood vessels, promote better flow.
That seems to be the idea. The traditional use was often described as dealing with blood stasis, which basically just means poor blood flow, and helping dilate blood vessels.
And does modern science back any of this up? The blog mentions studies.
It does touch on that. It mentions some modern findings suggesting antioxidant properties. These could potentially benefit liver health, which is linked to overall vitality and circulation too.
Interesting link.
Yeah, and there's also some, well, early research suggesting it might reduce certain inflammation markers in the body.
Wow.
So, yeah, framed as potentially promising for male vitality.
Okay, sounds intriguing, but you mentioned risks. Allergies seem like the big one here.
Absolutely. That's the major challenge, according to the blog. Lacquer sap contains urushiol. That's the same compound found in poison ivy and poison oak. Highly allergenic for many people.
Oof. Okay, so what kind of reactions are we talking about? The blog details a range. It can be skin reactions like rashes, intense itching, blisters, but also potentially more severe reactions like respiratory issues. Particularly, it notes for people who are already allergy prone.
Yikes. So what do you do if you react?
Immediate steps mentioned are washing the exposed skin really well with soap and water, cold compresses for itching, and crucially, consulting a doctor. They might prescribe antihistamines or steroid creams for more serious reactions.
And prevention?
Standard stuff, really. Wear gloves, long sleeves if you're anywhere near lacquer trees. And the blog advises avoiding foods made with lacquer sap if you even suspect you might have allergic tendencies.
Right. But the blog also talks about safe usage, specifically mentioning something called lacquer chicken. How does that work if it's potentially allergenic?
Ah, this is key. The blog stresses that safe consumption relies on using fermented lacquer sap. Apparently, agricultural research institutes have developed processes where the urushiol is removed or deactivated during fermentation.
Okay, fermented sap. That sounds like a critical distinction. Not just any old sap.
Precisely. It has to be the properly processed, fermented kind. And even then, the blog gives specific cooking advice, like minimize breathing in the steam while it's cooking.
Good ventilation, I assume.
Definitely. Good ventilation is key. And it also recommends starting with just a very small amount the first time just to see how your individual system reacts, even with the fermented stuff.
Makes sense. Does it give, like, recipe specifics for this lacquer chicken?
It does give a basic guideline. Simmer the chicken with about 50 milliliters, so not a huge amount of this fermented sap, and cook it for over 2 hours. Seasonings mentioned are simple, like garlic and green onions.
Okay. But still, for someone nervous about allergies, even the fermented kind might feel risky. Does the blog suggest other options, alternatives?
Yes, it does. For listeners concerned about that allergy risk, it brings up a couple of alternatives. One is epimedium, which you might know as yin yang hu or horny goatweed.
Oh, right. Heard of that one.
Yeah, it's often used for male vitality and circulation, and the blog notes it has minimal allergy risks compared to lacquer sap. Another one mentioned is eucommia bark.
Eucommia. What's that used for?
Traditionally for supporting things like blood pressure and circulation, again, with apparently fewer side effects or allergy concerns. The blog does sort of imply these might not pack the same punch as lacquer sap, perhaps?
But they're safer options.
Exactly. Safer choices if allergies are a primary concern.
The blog post also pointed towards a video resource, didn't it?
It did, yeah. It recommends a Health Pursuit blogcast, presumably their video channel on YouTube. It says it's a visual guide.
Visual guide to what specifically?
To recognizing the allergy symptoms like Seeing what the rashes or itching might look like also demonstrates those immediate response steps, washing, medication options, and it visually covers the safe usage tips like using the fermented sap, cooking with ventilation.
Okay, good to know there's a visual aid for those who prefer that.
So wrapping it up, the blog basically presents Lacquer Sap as something with potential based on traditional use and some modern hints about its compounds for circulation and vitality.
But, and it's a big but, the allergy risk from urushiol is serious and needs careful management.
Right. Safe use hinges on that fermented sap, specific cooking methods like for lacquer chicken, and taking precautions. And if you're allergy prone, maybe just steer clear.
In which case, those alternatives like epimedium or eucomia come into play as safer, if maybe milder, options.
That's the picture the blog paints. Potential benefits, significant risks, specific safety protocols, and alternatives.
So for you listening, it really comes down to weighing those potential gains against the very real risk of allergy. If you have any history of allergies, especially to things like poison ivy, the alternatives probably make more sense.
Absolutely. And maybe here's a final thought to leave you with. When you're exploring options for your health, especially traditional remedies, how do you personally navigate that balance between potential benefit and potential risk? What helps you decide? Perhaps this might prompt you to look deeper into fermented foods generally, or maybe explore other aspects of traditional East Asian medicine.